Hello to all of you dear friends. I hope you are all well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to channel, Freedom in Humanity. Please subscribe to my channel after watching the video. This video is the sixth part of the subject of prophets of God. This video is about the prophet of God Abraham. Please stay with us until the end of this video. Ibrahim, known as Ibrahim Khalil, is the second prophet of the first determination. Ibrahim was sent as a prophet in Mesopotamia, and Nimrod, the ruler of his time, invited the people of that region to the religion of monotheism. Few accepted his invitation, and because he became disillusioned with them, he emigrated to Palestine. According to the Quran, the idolatrous people of Abraham threw him into the fire because he had broken their idols, but the fire was cooled by the command of God and Abraham came out of it safe. Ishmael and Isaac are the two children of Abraham and his successors. The lineage of the nation of Israel, from which many prophets emerged, as well as Mary, the mother of Jesus, reaches Abraham through Isaac. The Prophet of Islam also attributed it to his other son Ishmael. The Quran attributes the construction of the house of Kaaba and the invitation of the people to the rites of Hajj to Ibrahim and introduces him, the friend of God. According to the verses of the Quran, after being tested with calamities, including the slaughter of his son by the command of God, in addition to prophecy, he also achieved the position of imamate. Biography, diary, birth and death. Most scholars have considered the 20th century BC to be the date of Abraham's birth, and some have given a more accurate figure for 1996 BC. Abraham's tomb is mentioned in the city of Hebron in Palestine and several other cities as the birthplace of Abraham. According to the history of Tabari, some Babylonians, or Kuthas from the literate areas of Iraq, which were ruled by Nimrod at that time, are considered to be the birthplace of Ibrahim, and others have stated that his birthplace was Uruk or Haran, and that his father later transferred him to Babylon or Kutha. Ibn Battuta, a 6th century lunar traveler, mentions a place called Bursa between Hilla and Baghdad in Iraq, which is said to have been the birthplace of Ibrahim. Abraham lived 179 or 200 years and died in Hebron, Palestine, now called Hebron. Abraham's father. There is disagreement about the letter of Abraham's father. In the Old Testament, this letter is recorded as Tarha, which is mentioned in the historical sources of Muslims as Tariq or Tara. It is stated in the Quran, when Ibrahim called his father Azar. According to this verse, some Sunni commentators consider Azar to be the father of Ibrahim, but Shiite commentators do not consider Ab in this verse to mean father. According to them, the word Ab in Arabic, in addition to the father, is also used for uncle, grandfather, guardian, etc. According to historical sources, in the year that Ibrahim was born, every baby that was born was killed by order of Nimrod, because astronomers had predicted that this year a child would be born who would not oppose religion and would leave his followers and break idols. For this reason, Ibrahim's mother, fearing the Nimrodians, put him in a cave near his house and took him out of the cave at night after 15 months. Marriage and children. Abraham's first wife was Sarah, and according to the Torah, Abraham married her in Ur Chaldeans. According to the Torah, she was Abraham's half-sister, but according to Shiites, Sarah was the daughter of Abraham's aunt and Lot's sister. According to one of these narrations, Ibrahim married him in Judah and he owned a lot of property which after Ibrahim's marriage with him, was acquired by Ibrahim, and Prophet Ibrahim increased them. In a way, no one in his area had as much property as he did. Abraham did not have children with Sarah, so Sarah gave Hagar her maidservant, and Abraham had a son named Ishmael. Abraham had a child with Sarah a few years later, who was named Isaac. Isaac was born 5 or 13 years after Ishmael. According to some accounts, at the time of Isaac's birth, Ibrahim was over 100 years old and Sarah was 90 years old. According to another narration, Isaac was born 30 years after Ishmael and Ibrahim was 120 years old at that time. It is said that after Sarah's death, Ibrahim married 2 other women, one of whom had 4 sons and the other had 7 sons, and the total number of his children reached 13. Ibrahim in the Quran. Abraham is mentioned 69 times in the Quran. A part of the Quran has been named after him in order to deal with the story of Abraham's life. The Quran deals with Abraham, including his prophecy and invitation to monotheism, his imamate, the slaughter of a child, the miracle of the resurrection of 4 birds after death, and the cooling of the fire. Prophecy, imamate, and friend of God. The Quran speaks of the prophecy of Abraham and his call to monotheism. The Quran also mentions the first prophets, according to whom Abraham is one of them and the second first prophet after Noah. According to verse 124 of Surah Al-Baqarah, God appointed Ibrahim as the imamate after several trials. According to the Quran, God has chosen Abraham as his friend. Hence he is nicknamed the friend of God. The frequency of prostration, not rejecting the wishes of others and not asking other than God, feeding and worshipping at night have been the reasons for choosing him as a friend by God. Abraham, the father of the prophets. According to the Quran, Abraham is the ancestor of a number of prophets after him. His son is Isaac, the ancestor of the children of Israel, from whose descendants were born the prophets Jacob, Joseph, David, Solomon, Job, Moses, Aaron, and other prophets of Israel. The lineage of Jesus also goes back to Jacob, the son of Isaac, through his mother Mary. According to Islamic traditions, the lineage of Prophet Muhammad goes back to Ishmael, the other son of Ibrahim. That is why he has been called the father of the prophets. Miracles. According to the Quran, the cooling of the fire and the resurrection of the 4 birds were among the miracles of Abraham. Fire cooling. When Abraham saw that his people would not stop worshipping idols, he broke the idols and attributed this to the great idol, saying, "Ask him if the idol speaks." The pagans succumbed to his argument, but did not give up their belief and threw him into the fire for breaking the idols, but the fire cooled on him by divine command. 4 birds come to life. In response to Abraham's request to see the resurrected dead, God commanded him to slaughter and mix the 4 birds and place them on top of several mountains. He did this and then called the birds. They came to life and came to him. Emigration. We took him and Lot to a land where we have blessed the world. Some commentary books have considered the land mentioned in this verse as Palestine and Jerusalem. Construction of the Kaaba. In verse 127 of Surah Al-Baqarah, it is stated that Prophet Ibrahim, with the help of his son Ishmael, built the Kaaba and, by the command of God, invited people to perform the rites of Hajj. According to some narrations, the Kaaba was first built by Adam, peace be upon him, and rebuilt by Ibrahim. Slaughter of a child. One of Abraham's divine trials was to commission the slaughter of his son. According to the Quran, Abraham dreamed of slaughtering his son. He discussed the matter with his son and his son asked him to obey God's command, but when Abraham put his son to sleep on the altar to be slaughtered, there cried out, "Abraham, you have fulfilled your dream. Indeed, this is how we reward the righteous. Surely this test was clear, and we saved your child from a great sacrifice." The Quran does not name the son of Abraham who was commissioned to be slaughtered. There are differences of opinion among both Shiites and Sunnis. Some say it was Ishmael and others call it Isaac. Abraham in the Testament. In the Old Testament, Abraham was first mentioned as Abram, but in chapter 17 it is written, "But now my covenant is with you, and you will be the father of many nations, and your name will not be called after this Abram, but your name will be Abraham, for I have made you the father of many nations." According to Old Testament tradition, Abraham refers to the Aramean tribes that migrated from the Arabian Peninsula to the banks of the Euphrates in northern Syria. According to Genesis 11, the story of Abraham's father, along with Abraham, Sarah, and Lot, traveled from Ur of the Chaldeans to Canaan, and when he reached Haran, he stopped there and died there. Some have concluded that he was the birthplace of Ibrahim or Chaldeans. However, at the beginning of chapter 12, the birthplace of Abraham and his fatherland are introduced. According to the Torah, Abraham remained in Haran until he was 75 years old, after which he went from Haran to Canaan by the command of God, taking with him his wife Sarah and his nephew Lot and some of the people of Haran, where they pitched a tent east of Bethel. They slaughtered. After that, they were forced to migrate to Egypt due to the famine, but after a while, they returned to Bethel from Egypt and later moved to Hebron, where they settled. The Old Testament identifies Isaac as the son of Abraham. In some cases, Zabi is considered the only child of Ibrahim. The Torah also states that God made a covenant with Abraham in Canaan to give from the Nile to the Euphrates to his descendants of Isaac. In the New Testament, Abraham is mentioned in 72 positions, and the lineage of Jesus Christ is connected to him through Isaac through 39 intermediaries or 54 intermediaries. The faith of Abraham is mentioned in the New Testament as the highest faith, for a stranger in Palestine, which was not his land, lived by the command of God, and took his son to the altar. Thank you dear friends for watching this video. Please support me by subscribing, liking, activating notifications for future videos, your comments, and introducing this channel to your friends. Message from the channel: freedom in humanity. Do 2 important things in your life. Number 1, as much as we can do good to others. Number 2, support each other.